Here's your guide to every villain in the Batman trailer. He is vengeance. He is the knight. He is the leader of the Black Parade. Wait, I mean the Batman. That's right, definitely the Batman. Gotham City's guyliner-clad Caped Crusader made quite a splash at last weekend's DC Fandome event. During a panel featuring director Matt Reeves, audiences around the world were treated to a deep dive into this twisted vision of Gotham in the first trailer for The Batman. It's especially impressive considering how relatively little of the film they completed due to production delays caused by the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. So, make like Batman and wear a mask, except maybe one that covers your mouth. This trailer has been playing on a loop both on my laptop and in my brain non-stop ever since it debuted on Saturday, thanks to its creepy cool aesthetic, a decidedly Zodiac Killer-esque version of the Riddler, and a seriously brutal Batman who turns an arrogant goon into a human Jackson Pollock painting. Fans immediately began feverishly speculating, trying to solve the trailer's many mysteries, including the Riddler's mysterious cipher, potential references to other Gotham baddies, and whether or not that was Colin Farrell as the Penguin or just beloved character actor Richard Kind. I'm still not sure. But thankfully, I accessed the Bat computer and we have put together a comprehensive guide for what you need to know about the many villains in the Batman trailer. So if you want to deep dive into everything else we learned at Fandome, well, make sure you check out Monday's episode of Nerdist News Talks Back and our articles on Nerdist.com. But in the meantime, let's play a game, just me and you. Let's start with an unexpected villain, Pete Savage. During DC Fandome, Matt Reeves spoke at length about the deep-rooted corruption that has Gotham City in a vice grip. Now, not only does that extend to the politicians, but to the police department as well. And that's going to be the subject of the Gotham PD HBO Max series that takes place a year before the events of this movie. I digress. Now, played by Alex Ferns, Pete Savage is the current, seemingly corrupt commissioner of the Gotham City Police Department. And given that scene of Batman clashing with cops in an interrogation room, it seems like Commissioner Savage is definitely going to make Batman's life a living hell and may potentially find himself in the Riddler's crosshairs. This character is seemingly a riff on the very corrupt Commissioner Loeb from Batman Year One, and coincidentally shares a name with a character from a 1966 Batman TV series episode, An Egg Grows in Gotham. But other than that, he seems to be an original creation for this movie. Next up, let's talk about Catwoman, a classic Batman villain slash love interest slash ally sometimes who appears in a very understated version of her iconic costume. We see her breaking and entering, cracking a safe, and going toe-to-toe with Batman. While this isn't an origin film for Selina Kyle, she hasn't yet reached her final feline form, at least according to Matt Reeves. The Batman takes place during year 2 of Batman's career. He's not exactly new at this, but he's nowhere near the seasoned crime fighter we may be used to seeing. And the same goes for many members of his rogues gallery who, like Catwoman, have not become full-blown supervillains yet. And next on our list is Oswald Cobblepot, aka the Penguin, but don't expect any Danny DeVito-style fish munching in this movie. What you can expect is to absolutely not recognize Colin Farrell under a metric ton of prosthetics. And now, according to Matt Reeves, Cobblepot prefers to go by Oz at this juncture and really hates it when people call him the Penguin. As another person profiting off of Gotham's ongoing corruption, he'll likely find his operations targeted by both Riddler and the Batman, who we see chasing Penguin in a souped-up Batmobile later in the teaser trailer. Now, moving on from there, we have the real star of this trailer, the Riddler. The wordplay warrior appears on screen before he even appears on screen, as the slow, methodical sounds of duct tape being pulled off a roll echo across a black screen emblazoned with a blood-red WB logo. The scene fades in to reveal a horrifying sight, a man, presumably the Riddler, wearing a green coat, a gas mask, and goggles, looking more terrifying than any version of Edward Nygma I've ever seen before. Now, the Riddler is kneeling over a man's body, which he proceeds to then cover the man's head in duct tape and writes the words "No more lies" across the man's face. As we learn from news clippings covered with the word lies, the man is Mayor Don Mitchell Jr., who's just won an unprecedented third term, presumably through corrupt means. This version of Riddler, played by Paul Dano, is seemingly on a deadly crusade against corruption in Gotham City, which kind of makes him this dark inversion of Batman in certain ways and definitely plays into what Matt Reeves was saying about Jungian archetypes and shadow selves. Calling himself your secret friend, Riddler leaves Batman a mysterious greeting card with a skeleton and an owl on the front. Inside is a riddle and a cipher for Batman to solve. The riddle reads, "What does a liar do when he's dead?" As confirmed by internet super sleuths like Andrew Lane, the cipher is a substitution cipher that translates to "he lies still." So great work Gumshoe and great riddle Eddie. But let's go back to that greeting card for a second and talk about the Court of Owls. That's right, Gotham City's infamous secret society might be hiding in plain sight in this trailer. The Riddler's greeting card features an owl on the front, which may be a clever allusion to this organization that has deep roots in Gotham City, and perhaps a vested interest in rooting out corruption that's trying to seize control for itself. But more likely, it's just a way to tee up a who pun, because it's what owls say, and a great follow-up to From Your Secret Friend. But then again, given that the Court of Owls are a major part of the upcoming Gotham Knights video game, anything is possible. We're going to be keeping our eyes peeled for further allusions in upcoming trailers. From there, we move on to another mysterious group of bad guys that we're calling the Skullface Gang. Now, these seem to be a regular group of Gotham City goons at first glance, but their face paint could actually speak volumes. Now, we first see these guys against the Riddler's voiceover of, "If you are justice, please do not lie." Given the skeletal nature of the paint and the skeleton on Riddler's card, maybe these are street toughs emboldened by Riddler's murderous anti-corruption spree, or maybe they're his gang members. But then again, some of the members have Glasgow smiles, a la Heath Ledger's version of the Joker, which has some people wondering if they're meant to tease the Clown Prince of Crime and his growing influence in Gotham. That might be a bit of a stretch, but clearly Matt Reeves has painted a picture of Gotham as a city in the midst of an identity crisis, so anything is possible. Next up, let's not forget about Sal Moroni, the Gabagoo King of Gotham, a nickname I definitely just made up. In a blink and you'll miss it moment, you can see a reference to Sal Moroni at the Riddler's crime scene. Moroni is an infamous Gotham City mobster best known in the comics for throwing acid on District Attorney Harvey Dent's face, thereby beginning the lawman's transformation into the villainous Two-Face, although that said, I kinda doubt we're gonna see that here. Moroni is also famously at odds with Carmine Falcone, the head of the notorious Falcone crime family, who's going to be played in this movie by John Turturro. And speaking of Carmine Falcone, that murderous mobster is a longtime friend of the Wayne family in the comics, which may play into the Riddler's cryptic message to Batman at the end of this trailer. He tells the Dark Knight, "You're part of this too." When Batman asks how, the Riddler remains cryptic, but maybe this is insinuating the Wayne family's fortune has its roots in corruption as Telltale explored in their excellent Batman game, or maybe that Thomas and Martha Wayne's murders weren't quite as senseless as they originally seemed. Maybe they were a hit authorized by Gotham's elite or its criminal underbelly. And that is our comprehensive guide to all the villains we spotted in the Batman teaser. One thing's for certain, Gotham City's ugly side will absolutely rear its head when the Batman finally hits theaters in $0?1. But in the meantime, tell me, what do you think? What do you think the Riddler is really up to? Will the Court of Owls really be in this movie? And seriously, was that Colin Farrell? Let's discuss in the comments below, and for even more deep dives into all things Batman, Wonder Woman, and DC Fandome, make sure you stay tuned to Nerdist.com.